In this video we'll be going over lists in C#. So actually structs and lists in C#. So we previously talked about lists earlier on. So a list is a container for storing a collection of objects, so it's a data structure. C# has a bit of a different, or I guess .NET C# has a bit of a different definition, because they talk about it as being a container to store objects. For example, Java, I don't remember it talking about being it being a container. They just said it was a data structure to store objects. So C# is a little bit different. Well, .NET C#. Okay, so let's just talk about. So basically we can see an example. I'll show you an example of how you could create a list that can store automobile objects. So we're going to create a struct. So to create a struct, we'll have to do we'll have to create a struct up here. Let's go struct automobile. We'll open the struct, and then here we'll have actually, sorry, I should have actually, that's fine. Okay, so then we'll go we'll have some public fields. So we'll go public. What do we have before? String make. What else we had? Public int year and public double mileage. So these are the struct fields. So all automobile objects will have a struct object will have all these fields accessible to it. Okay, so then we can go down here in the constructor, so we can say list, so we'll call the list class. Then we'll say of type, so what object type do you want to store in the list? Well, we want to store automobiles. Or automobile, I think it's automobile, that's what we said. The list of object type automobile. We'll just call it car list, or cars list. Points to new, then we'll just instantiate it as normal automobile, list of type automobile, and then we'll go empty parameters and a semicolon. So that's our list. So we have a list object here referenced by the car list variable. So the word automobile is written in angular brackets, so that's just your standard object type, same as Java. It's 150% the same as Java. You can even create your own types there. Well, the difference is that you can't create a struct in Java, I believe. Structs are just native to like the C languages. So there's our struct. So C programming just has structs. C# and C++ also have classes, because they're object-oriented. C programming isn't. I believe it's procedural. But pretty much we'll be talking about classes in the next chapter. So there's different ways to create objects. A struct is one of them. They don't recommend using, if you can use a class object, they recommend going for the class object, but in, for example, .NET, where you have forms, where we're using a Windows Forms app, you wouldn't really create that many classes. So maybe a struct could help you out if you need it. Okay, so we have, so then we could say, actually, so what else do we have here? So we create a list object referenced by the cars list object reference variable. Notice that the word automobile, okay, so we already talked about that. So just remember, this list can only hold automobile objects. It is in Python. So it has to be the same type. Python can hold any different type that you want. So we created a list that can hold automobile objects. Now we can create an object of the automobile structure. Same thing, so we can just go automobile. We can go with car points to new automobile. So automobile car points to new automobile. Then we can set the car fields, so we can go car.make points to, we could just say we have a, just say we have a bug. So go with car.year points to, I don't know, 2005. I'll go with car.mileage points to, let's just go with, I don't know, it has like 10, you don't drive, so it has like 10 miles on it or 20 miles. So actually, sorry, these shouldn't have strings on it. So we'll take the int string out, then we'll take this string letter out here, add a 0.0 as well. Let's just say it was garage kept. You had tons of cars, so you just had this line around. Okay, so we have car.make, car.year, and car.mileage, so we have the fields from the struct set up. Okay, so then we'll add the object to the list. Okay, so then we'll use the add method, so we'll use the list add method, so we'll go cars list dot add. What are we going to add? We're going to add the car. So adding the car to the cars list. Now in the list we have that car in index 0. So the statement here creates a list named, what do we call it, cars list, that can hold automobile objects. So as you can see, object-oriented programming, it's pretty fun and easy. Like you can just store objects and objects. It's different than Python, kind of. Python has object-oriented, but it's not always object-oriented. I think actual object-oriented languages are easy to use. Like this language is better than C programming because it's easier to use. So if you ask like senior developers, they'll tell you that those languages are really good. They like Java, they like C#, some of them like C++. They also like JavaScript, stuff like that. Okay, so here we'll have, what else we have? So what do we do? So we created a list named cars list that can hold automobile objects. Then we created an object of the automobile structure named car. Then we assigned values to the object's fields and then added the object to the list. So structure objects are value type objects. So not 100% sure what the difference is, because I'm usually cycling through different languages, but I'll just think of it as an object. So basically that has values, I guess. That's what they're trying to get at. So structure objects are value type objects, and when you add a value type object to a list, the list will. So when you add a value type object to a list, the list will contain a copy of the object. For example, look at the following code. Okay. So let's try to look at this code here. Just trying to explain that better to you guys. I think I have an idea, but what they're trying to get at is that it's a copy of the object and not the original object. So it's kind of passed by, pretty much it's like a value type object. So it's like a pointer to the object, but C# doesn't have pointers. So it's kind of tricky. So structure objects are value type objects, and when you add a value type object to a list, the list will contain a copy of the object. Okay, so let's try to do an example of that. So yeah, I have our list of type object. Sorry, I have a list of type automobile object, cars list. Sometimes the actual theories won't make sense, like even when you're coding on your own. Sometimes just like the code makes more sense. Like for example, to me, the code makes sense, but the theories, like how they're talking about, like they're saying that it's a value type object and all that. Sometimes I kind of look past that. I just kind of go with the flow of the code. So I would try to do that if you can. So here we'll create, like that's what I can do. Like I can show you guys how to code really well. Sometimes I like the theories, like I'll try to explain them the best I can. So the most important part though obviously is the code, and if you can code and move the data around, that's the best thing. So here we'll create a list to hold automobile objects. So that's pretty much it right there. List of type automobile object. Cars list points a new list of type automobile object. Okay, so automobile car points a new automobile. We set the fields. We add the car. Okay, so if we assign new values to the object's fields. Okay, let's assign new values to the fields. So let's go with car.make points to let's just add something random like Mustang or something. And here we'll go with car.year points to, I don't know, 2050, 2030. Then we'll go with car.mileage points to, let's just say it's brand new, so it just has 10 kilometers, 10 miles or 10 kilometers, whatever. What did I miss here? Okay, so this string should be taken out. Okay, so now let's try to, wait a minute. We already added this, didn't we? Okay, so the statement here creates a list named cars list that can hold automobile objects. The next line creates an automobile object named car and assigns values to the object's fields. The next line adds the car object to the list. Okay, so when the car gets added to the list the first time, a copy of the car's object is made and stored in the list. This happens because the car object is a value type object. At this point, two objects of the automobile structure exist. Okay, this might just kind of be native to structures itself. It's kind of confusing. So this happens because I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just like if it's not passing properly, try to use ref. If not, try to take another route. That's what I would do. So this happens because the sports car object is a value type object. So at this point, two objects of the automobile structure exist. Okay, so the car object and the copy of the car object that is in the list. Okay, so a copy of the car object got added to the list. I remember them talking about, okay, let me just see if they talked about this in arrays. Did I just skip it over? I don't think I skipped it over, but let's just see. I don't think so. So structure objects can be stored in an array. When you create a structure array, each element of the array is a structure instance. Oh, okay, so it's also a structure. Well, no, isn't that the same thing? So it's a structure instance. The fields of each instance are initialized to 0. If any field is a reference variable, it is initialized to the value null. We talked about all this. Each element of a structure array must be accessed through an index. To access a field is simply, okay, so we did that. Yeah, the docs that I learned from in school, they didn't talk about an array being also an array struct being a value type object. So that's the problem. It just depends on the author. Okay, so let's just see. Okay, so okay, so we're back where we were, back to the lists. So then we assign new values. So we haven't done this part. Actually, we did. So here in the code, back on the code on the screen, so we assign new values to the car objects fields, and then we're supposed to add the car back again. So let's go here with cars list. So cars list.add will add the car. Okay, so we add the card object to the list. Once again, a copy of the sports car object is made and added to the list. Now we have 3 instances of the automobile structure that exist. Okay. So now 3, it's a little bit tricky. So now we have 3 objects of the 3 instances of the automobile structure. That's a little tricky. The sports car object and the 2 objects. So pretty much, I believe it's actually 3 of these cars. So it's 3 car objects. We have 1 original and 2 copies. The sports car object and the 2 objects that are in the list. So when we put it in the list, it made copies to put in the list. So this will probably just end it there, because I have to create a form for the next lab. So in the next lab, so what are we going to be doing? So we're going to be doing, actually, where are we? Okay, so in the next lab we'll demonstrate, so we'll look at a program that demonstrates structured objects can be added to a list. We'll demonstrate that structured objects can be added to a list with a GUI example. So pretty much just practicing the same concepts and try to explain some of those value. So I'm going to try to explain some of those value type objects a little bit more. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Take care.